Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's J Dreamers.
Hi, J Dreamers. Standard foreshadowing introduction to you.
Now, I wanted to make a response video because I had done a previous video talking about how NASA paints gravity all wrong.
Okay. This should be very interesting. That or incredibly stupid. This is the Sir Sick channel, after all, not like a good, actually knows more science than a toddler channel. So we'll see. But my first question for you would have to be, if they are so utterly wrong, I want to know exactly how many objects you've gotten into a stable orbit. Or not even that. How about just into space? Seeing as you clearly know more than an organisation made up of some of the smartest people on the planet, and you know how to make a video without giant software watermarks on it.
And I wanted to go a little bit more into detail about that because I've had a few comments where people are asking me things like,
Why are you see-through? Seriously, why is your body translucent? All except your head for some completely baffling reason. It's all so confusing. And if it's an artistic / man, doesn't this look cool, sci-fi, trippy, etc. choice, well, it doesn't look very good. And please, point me at the person who let you think that it does enough to internet this, because I may have to savagely beat them to death with a squirrel on your behalf.
why are you asking questions? Why don't you go into the scientific community and find out the answers?
Would that not involve asking questions? Surely people mean, why are you pontificating and pretending that your statements of quote-unquote fact are just questions, guys? I'm just trying to find out the truth, while ignoring every single person who will actually come to you, sit you down, and explain what you don't understand in a way that a moose with a head injury could understand. And you, or at least folks like you, I don't know your specific excuse, will ignore them completely or accuse them of shilling, or you're simply just not understanding what's said and pretend that you have seen some very obvious flaw, but refuse to actually point out what that is or any number of other things that involve not actually engaging in people's arguments.
Why don't you ask professors and people who are educated, or go to the NASA website and find out what the answers are to your questions about the way that the universe, or the way that our solar system has been drawn out.
Well, how it's drawn out is related to how it works, so I'm not sure why you wouldn't try to find that out first.
Now, in my previous video, I had basically mentioned that I noticed, for example, when you look at an atom, or the given picture of an atom, you have the nucleus and then the electrons are flying all around, that they don't fly in a flat plane around the nucleus.
I'm going to assume you mean like the orbits of planetary bodies, which, well, why do you assume that the forces of that and of atoms are even remotely similar? The scales are wildly different, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but planetary orbits are governed by gravity, but at the scale of an atom would have little, possibly essentially no impact from gravity, and is more to do with electrostatic force, which is rather large in atoms relative to their size at least.
And then I looked at a picture of the Earth with the tens of thousands, there's like 10 to 20,000 satellites and debris all going around our planet at once.
No, you're not gonna say what I think you're gonna say, are you? Please tell me you aren't just that kind of irresponsibly thoughtless that you can't. No, I'm not even gonna entertain the idea that you are going to make this argument. It's too stupid, and I believe in you, Ray Earners.
And when I look up pictures of this, even if they're, conceptual, it doesn't show all of the satellites making a nice little ring around Earth so that Earth has an artificial ring around it.
No, bad Zayimas, bad dog. Now.
You're going to have to repeat that.
And when I look up pictures of this, even if they're, conceptual, it doesn't show all of the satellites making a nice little ring around Earth so that Earth has an artificial ring around it.
Right now, I don't know what exactly your stance is on the age of the universe, etc. But the fact of the matter is, it is very, very old. Over 13 billion years by current estimates. And the solar system we inhabit is also very old at about 4.6 billion years. There has been a long ass time for things to settle into the pattern that they currently conform to. We have been chucking crap into space for just over half a century. Why in the name of funky beehives do you think that objects put into a very specific orbit that have thrusters and the like to keep them in that orbit, why would these objects suddenly and inexplicably zoom toward the same destination even after their usefulness has finished for no reason and magically form a ring? Or whatever this shape is, with absolutely no time, comparatively speaking, for that to happen. You must be drunk, than me.
They're going everywhere. They're orbiting at all kinds of various orbits all around the Earth, supposedly because of gravity. So I pointed this out and I said, well, if the satellites do that and supposedly the electrons do that, going at these random chaotic orbits.
Right, so first off, the atomic diagrams are just that, diagrams. How it actually works in them is, well, it's a little beyond the scope of this video, but needless to say, it's nowhere near the whole story. And yes, essentially, right now, the space debris is going every which way, but given a while, again, a long ass while, the chunks of debris will become a uniform ring, as I understand it. This happens because there will always be more of these pieces travelling in one particular direction than any of the others. So over time, as parts are smashed together, they are either completely obliterated or they'll start to move into the direction that the majority of objects are already moving. And as a disk is formed, the remaining parts that are not already in the mass of objects now have this thing that they have a very high chance to smash into on the regs. So this is simplified because of my limited braining, but the fact is they will absolutely do this over time, and your credulity or inability to understand doesn't change that. It happens, and the way NASA paints gravity is fine. You just don't get it.
Around the center, then why doesn't the rest of the universe follow suit, as depicted by NASA?
Because the rest of the universe has been there a couple of years longer than the late goddamn 50s, you dolt.
I wonder, why is it that our solar system, when we look at pictures, it's always shown as being all these objects on a flat plane going around a central object?
Because that's what it's like. I mean, seriously, dude. All your questions are based on things that you yourself say are diagrams or demonstrations of those things. Forget the fact that they are all basically correct. Let's say one set is wrong and the other is right, and it can't be anything in between, and they can't be the same at the same time. Whatever. What makes you think that the demo of the space around the planet is the accurate one, and everything else isn't? What made you decide that that model is the only correct one? I'm guessing it's nothing, but being a contrarian makes me feel smart.
And then when I look at the pictures of Saturn, it always shows all this ice or debris or whatever going on around a flat plane around the planet.
Pictures! There are actually pictures. You can go out, look at Saturn and see the rings with your own eyes. I don't understand. You seem to be saying that it's one way or the other. You could literally go out and see them for yourself with the telescope.
Or when I look at the asteroid belt. I mean, the asteroid belt is just totally, they're all following and marching in a perfect circle around the sun. Which blows my mind because,
You're thicker than pig excrement mixed in with hot tarmac?
The main theory about the asteroid belt is that, one heavenly body smashed into another heavenly body, and then all the little bits and pieces formed a nice, neat line and marched around the sun. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? It does to me.
Well, I forgot. You are the world's foremost expert in smartology with a PhD from cashforqualifications.com. The idea that particles can become uniform over time is just completely absurd. As we all know, every single grain of material on Earth is just a big mashup. There are no beaches where sand has gathered. Water isn't attracted together to form clouds or bodies of water. There are no forces that cause things to behave in certain ways dependent on their properties. I mean, Christ knows how I'm making this video, because it doesn't make any sense that all these atoms in my body just so happen to be in this configuration at this moment, because everything is completely and utterly random, and more importantly, there are zero factors that make the chances of that happening significantly more likely. Stupid. Obvs.
Anyways, and then I look at the Milky Way galaxy itself. These spiral galaxies. So many of these galaxies are all flat. And I thought to myself,
don't pretend you can think. I don't mind stupid, but I cannot abide liars.
Maybe they're just rubbing the flat Earth in our face. Maybe they're rubbing this in our face that our home and our world and our universe is actually flat.
Oh God, you're a flat earther. Why am I not surprised? Ugh. Okay, the universe, according to current understanding, is indeed flat, but that doesn't mean flat the way you understand it. It means that Euclidean geometry applies at the very largest scales. Put simply, two straight parallel lines will never meet. It doesn't mean there aren't 3D directions that objects can travel in, and it doesn't mean that distant stellar bodies are not travelling away from us through space. It means a bunch of fascinating crap that makes my head feel funny and red goo come out of my ears when I spend too much time reading about it. But that fact does not make me suddenly think, well, if I'm struggling to grasp it, this simple idiot logic must be true instead.
Either that, or when they all start drawing it, their subconscious is telling them to draw the truth, even though they try to draw lies.
Or your simplistic gibbon brain doesn't understand that when you see something that isn't intuitive to you, instead of everyone else must be lying or trying to lie, that actually you simply don't understand it. Because here's the main reason I always end up sticking to the science. And I've said it before, but it always bears repeating. These lies and these hidden truths, for some goddamn reason, keep making things that work. Whether they be predictions about the universe or the world around us. Or more importantly, to the everyday slack-jawed yokel, technology that does frankly astounding things that wouldn't work if everything they did and said was lies. And then on the other end of that spectrum, flat earther and general pseudoscience pushers of all types only ever seem to produce really bad YouTube videos where they can't even get a basic green screen to work properly or fill the frame. It's absolutely baffling that you can't do that, but you're convinced that you're smarter than everyone else. Goodness.
So there have been some people who have responded and tried to give me the scientific reasons. Well, somebody gave me a video to watch. And I'm not going to put the video on here because I'm having copyright issues and all that.
Is that right? Copyright issues. Look, I'll believe you, and I'm certainly not going to say that the real reason you aren't showing it is that you can simply strawman, cherry pick, or just plain not understand your way through this response.
But I'm going to quote the scientist in the video and what he said, explaining why all these things are flat in our universe, especially when it comes to the formation of our solar system.
Oh, great. Go ahead. I'll check for errors. Don't worry. I found the video because shockingly, you actually linked it. I know. I was surprised as you all. He still F's this up all the same anyway.
So, the scientist says, if the original gas cloud that formed the solar system had not been rotating at all, it would have indulged in a spherical gravitational collapse towards a point. However, in general, any large gas cloud in space will have rotation. Thus, it will have angular momentum. And then I can't quote the rest of it because he starts giving out like a formula for that, which is beyond me. It's in the scientific theoretical world.
Right, and here is the actual clip of what he says next, as close as it is to being a theoretical formula.
A measure of the rotary motion of any object, which is equal to the product of the mass times the circular velocity times the distance of the mass from the center of rotation.
So first part.
A measure of the rotary motion of any object,
The spinitude of something,
which is equal to the product of the mass,
which is the same as how much of it there is,
times the circular velocity,
multiplied by how fast it's going in a circle,
times the distance of the mass from the center of rotation,
multiplied by how far the main part of it is from the place it spins around. Now, that is my stupid and overly simplified and very, very likely I'm a bit wrong explanation, but it is certainly nowhere close to some insane brain-melting mathematics that no one but the smartest of brainers could understand. And the fact that you didn't even try just goes to show that you aren't just stupid, you are lazy. And there is very little to be gained from listening to you unless you're an idiot knight making internet videos because no one loves him. And none of us are that pathetic. Oh, wait. Okay, for those of you who are keeping up, this is normally where I would have stuck an advert for sick stuff to you. But today I wanted instead to update those of you who care on the state of the infamous firehouse. It is officially moved back inable to. Water, electric and gas all back in play and a moving van booked for mid next week. Huzzah! It's been a heck of a few months. That was apparently supposed to be 2 weeks. That didn't happen. I've impressed myself with my ability to keep on top of getting out regular vids, although I haven't been 100% happy with them all, including this one. But hopefully, once I can have just a little bit more normalcy, I can knuckle down and really start making stupid content. But I wanted to end this video with a thank you to everyone who's been so supportive during this time, whether that be kind words, throwing us a little bit of shiny coins, or most importantly of all, pointing out how ironic this line now is. Amazingly, not only do I not have a small jar in my house, I don't have any at all. And yet somehow my house hasn't burnt down. Yeah, that aged well. So thank you everyone. Here's to getting back on track and making even more dumb jokes about the sillies. Also, while I'm here, Mrs. Sick will be celebrating her birthday this Sunday, as it's her birthday on the Monday. So we will be seeing out our last proper night in this place with our usual terrible streams for terrible people. We usually start around 10 or 11, so say hi if you want. Otherwise, we will see you on the other side. Cheers.